The morning was cold and quiet. The kind of cold that makes the streets feel empty, even when people are walking. Outside a small bakery, a black woman stood still. Her clothes were old. Her shoes were worn out. She held the hand of her little son very tight, as if she was scared he might disappear. The boy was only 6 years old. His stomach was empty. His lips were dry. His eyes kept looking at the bakery window. Inside the bakery, warm lights were on. Fresh bread was on display. Sweet smells filled the air. The boy swallowed hard. He whispered, "Mom, it smells good." The woman looked down at him. She tried to smile, but her face was tired. Very tired. "Just wait a little," she said softly. They had not eaten since yesterday. She took a deep breath and slowly pushed the bakery door open. A bell rang. Inside, people were laughing. Some were on their phones. Some were talking about their day. No one looked at her. She walked to the counter. Her hands were shaking. The man behind the counter looked up. His eyes moved from her face to her clothes, then to her son. His smile faded. The woman spoke in a low voice, almost like she was scared of her own words. "Excuse me," she said. "Do you have any expired pastry?" The man frowned. She continued quickly, her voice breaking. "Just for my son." The bakery became quiet. "Her son poulet her kotgenti." "Mom," he whispered. "I am okay. Let's go." But he was not okay. His small body looked weak. His eyes had no energy. The woman felt her chest tighten. She waited. Seconds felt like minutes. The man behind the counter did not answer. Some customers turned their heads. One woman whispered to another. A man shook his head slowly. The woman felt shame burning inside her. She lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I won't disturb you." She turned to leave. But before she reached the door, a black luxury car stopped outside the bakery. The engine went silent. Inside the car, a well-dressed black man sat quietly. He had sharp eyes, calm face, expensive watch on his wrist. But his eyes were not calm. They were fixed on the woman and her son. He saw the way the boy looked at the food. He saw the way the woman tried to stay strong. His hands slowly closed into fists. He remembered something, a memory he never forgot. Years ago, he was that child, hungry, cold, standing next to his mother, asking for leftovers. The man in the car did not move. He just watched. Inside the bakery, the counterman finally spoke. "We don't give free food here," he said coldly. The words hit like stones. The boy flinched. The woman's eyes filled with tears, but she did not cry. She nodded slowly. "I understand," she said. "Thank you." She took her son's hand again. As they walked out, the boy looked back one last time at the pastries. The bell rang again. Outside, the cold air hit them hard. The woman hugged her son tightly. "It's okay," she whispered. "We'll find something." The boy said nothing. Across the street, inside the luxury car, the man opened the door. He stepped out. People noticed him. His shoes were clean. His coat was perfect. His presence was powerful. But his face showed pain. He looked at the bakery door, then at the woman and her child walking away. He took a deep breath. His voice was low. "Not today," he said to himself. "Not again." The woman did not know him. The boy did not see him. But their lives were about to change. The man took his first step forward. And this time, he would not stay silent. The woman and her son walked away from the bakery. Each step felt heavy. The street was busy, but she felt invisible. Cars passed. People talked. No one noticed the small boy holding his mother's hand. The boy looked down at the ground. His shoes were too big. They had holes near the toes. His stomach made a soft sound. The woman stopped walking. She knelt in front of him and brushed his hair with her fingers. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I tried." The boy shook his head quickly. "It's okay, Mom," he said. "I can wait." But his voice was weak. She hugged him tightly. Across the street, the man in the black coat watched them. He stayed still. His heart was beating fast. He remembered a cold sidewalk, a younger version of himself, a mother who tried to hide her tears. He took one step forward, then stopped. Inside the bakery, the manager laughed. "People like that always come," he said to a customer. "They want something for free." The words cut deep. The woman heard them. She closed her eyes for a moment. She wanted to shout. She wanted to cry. But she didn't either. She stood up and pulled her son closer. "Come," she said softly. "We'll keep walking." The boy nodded. They walked past the bakery window. This time, the boy did not look inside. He had learned something. The man in the black coat saw this. His jaw tightened. He crossed the street slowly. Every step felt like a memory coming back. A man passed by and whispered, "She should find a job." Another woman looked at her phone and said, "Sad world." But no one stopped. The woman heard everything. She kept walking. She did not answer. She had learned to stay quiet. Suddenly, the boy stopped. "Mom," he said, "my head feels dizzy." Her heart dropped. She quickly picked him up, even though he was heavy for her thin arms. She sat on a bench. She checked his face. He was pale. The man in the black coat stood a few feet away. Close enough to hear. Close enough to help. But still, he waited. The woman searched her bag. Only empty wrappers. No food. No money. She looked up at the sky. "Please," she whispered. "Just today." The man felt something break inside him. He remembered his mother saying the same words. The boy rested his head on her shoulder. "I'm sorry I asked for food," he said quietly. Her eyes filled with tears. "No," she said firmly. "You did nothing wrong." She wiped his face. "You are strong," she added. "Stronger than me." The man stepped closer. Now she noticed him. She looked at his clean shoes. His expensive coat. Her body stiffened. She thought he was there to judge. She pulled her son closer. "I'm not asking you for anything," she said quickly. "I swear." The man raised his hand slowly. "I know," he said calmly. His voice was soft. "I just saw what happened." She said nothing. She waited for more pain. But it did not come. The man looked at the boy, then back at her. "Is he okay?" he asked. She hesitated. Then she told the truth. "He hasn't eaten since yesterday." The man closed his eyes, just for a second. When he opened them, his eyes were wet. "I was like him," he said, "many years ago." She looked at him, confused. He took a deep breath. "I watched you walk out of that bakery," he continued. "And I told myself, if I stay quiet again, I will regret it forever." The street felt silent, even though it was not. He reached into his pocket. Not for money. Not for a card. He reached for courage. "Please," he said, "let me help." The woman did not answer. She had been promised help before. It never came. She looked at her son, then back at the man. Her voice shook. "Why?" she asked. The man looked at the bakery, then back at her. "Because," he said, "no child should ever beg for expired food." The wind blew softly. The boy lifted his head, and for the first time that day, he smiled. The man stood quietly in front of the woman and her son. For a moment, no one spoke. The street noise continued, but it felt far away. The man looked at the boy again. The boy's face was thin. His eyes were tired, but there was still kindness in them. That look hit the man hard, because he had seen that look before, in the mirror, many years ago. The man took a slow breath. "My name is David," he said gently. The woman nodded, but did not speak. She was careful. She had learned to be careful with strangers. David looked down at the ground. "When I was his age," he began, "I was hungry every day." The woman's eyes moved to his face. David's voice stayed calm, but inside his heart was shaking. "My mother and I slept in shelters," he continued. "Sometimes on benches, sometimes in old buildings." The boy listened closely now. David smiled sadly. "My mother was strong," he said. "She never complained." He paused. "But I saw her cry at night." The woman swallowed hard. David looked up at the bakery again. "That place," he said quietly, "reminded me of something I tried to forget." The woman stayed silent. David continued. "One winter, my mother took me to a restaurant," he said. "She asked for leftovers, just like you did." His hands slowly curled into fists. "The man laughed," David said. "He told her to leave." The boy's eyes widened. David nodded slowly. "I will never forget how small I felt that day," he said. "How useless." He looked at the woman. "That pain never leaves," he added, "no matter how rich you become." The woman's eyes filled with tears. Not for herself. For him. David straightened his shoulders. "I promised myself something that day," he said. "If I ever had power, I would use it." The woman finally spoke. "But many people become rich," she said softly. "They forget." David looked at her. "Yes," he said. "Most do." He took a step closer. "That's why I stopped today." The boy tugged on his mother's sleeve. "Mom," he whispered. "He sounds honest." The woman looked down at her son, then back at David. Trust was dangerous. But hunger was worse. David saw her fear. He did not rush her. He knelt down slowly, so he was at the boy's level. "What's your name?" he asked. "Marcus," the boy replied. David smiled. "That's a strong name," he said. Marcus smiled back. "Just a little." David stood up again. "I don't want to scare you," he said to the woman. "And I don't want you to feel small." She nodded. "I know how that feels," David added. He reached into his pocket. This time, he pulled out a small photo. It was old. A little boy, a tired woman, standing outside a shelter. "That's me," David said. "And that's my mother." The woman covered her mouth. "You made it," she whispered. David nodded. "But not alone," he said. "Someone helped us." He looked at her with serious eyes. "Today, I want to be that someone." The woman's hands shook. She had prayed for help many times. But hope was scary. "What if this is just words?" she asked. David did not get angry. He understood. "Then judge me by what I do next," he said. Just then, the bakery door opened. The manager stepped outside. He looked annoyed. "You're blocking the entrance," he said sharply. David turned slowly. His face changed. Calm, cold, controlled. The manager stopped talking. David looked him in the eyes. "You humiliated a hungry child," David said. "And his mother." The manager laughed nervously. "This doesn't concern you," he said. David took one step forward. "Oh," he replied. "It does." The woman felt something shift in the air. David's voice was steady. "This bakery," he said, "belongs to me." The manager froze. The street felt silent again. David looked back at the woman and her son. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. And for the first time, the woman believed him. The street went quiet. Not because people stopped moving, but because everyone started watching. The bakery manager stood frozen. His mouth was slightly open. His face had lost all color. "Belongs to you?" he asked, forcing a laugh. "That's not funny." David did not smile. He reached into his coat and slowly pulled out his phone. He did not raise his voice. He did not shout. "I bought this bakery 2 years ago," he said calmly. "I never came here in person." The manager swallowed. That's impossible," he said. David tapped his phone and showed him the screen. Documents. Names. Signatures. The manager's hands started shaking. Around them, people had stopped pretending not to care. Customers came closer. Pedestrians slowed down. Phones came out. The woman held her son tightly. Her heart was beating fast. She had never seen power like this. The manager's voice changed. "I didn't know," he said quickly. "If I had known." David raised one hand. "No," he said. "You did know." The manager looked confused. "You knew what it means to be hungry," David continued. "You just chose not to care." The manager opened his mouth again. David cut him off. "You laughed," David said. "You shamed her." The woman looked down. Shame still sat heavy in her chest. David turned to her. "Look at me," he said softly. She hesitated. Then she lifted her eyes. "This shame is not yours," David said. "It belongs to him." The manager stepped back. "This is bad for business," he muttered. David nodded slowly. "You're right," he said. "And that's why you're done here." The manager's eyes widened. "You can't fire me like this," he shouted. "Not in front of everyone." David's voice stayed calm. "I just did." The crowd whispered. Some gasped. Some smiled. The manager's shoulders dropped. He knew it was over. Security arrived moments later. The manager was escorted away. He did not look back. The woman's legs felt weak. She sat on the bench again. Her son looked up at her. "Mom," he whispered, "are we in trouble?" She shook her head slowly. "No," she said. "I think we're safe." David walked back to them, but he did not stand over them. He knelt again. "I'm sorry you had to hear all of that," he said to the boy. Marcus shook his head. "It's okay," he said. "You were brave." David smiled. "So were you." David stood and opened the bakery door. Warm air came out. The smell of fresh bread filled the street. He turned to the woman. "Please," he said, "come inside." She hesitated. Inside that place, she had been humiliated. Her body remembered. "I understand if you don't want to," David added. She looked at her son. He nodded. Slowly, she stood up. They walked inside together. This time, people moved aside for them. No whispers. No laughter. Only silence. David pulled out a chair for the woman. "For you," he said. Marcus sat next to her. A worker came forward nervously. David looked at him. "Bring them fresh food," he said. "The best we have." The worker nodded and rushed away. The woman's hands rested on the table. She did not know what to say. She had spent so long being ignored. Now, everyone was watching her. David sat across from her. "I want you to eat," he said. "No ruse. No fear." Food arrived. Warm bread. Soup. Juice. Marcus stared at it like it was not real. "Is this for us?" he asked quietly. "Yes," David said. Marcus looked at his mother. She nodded. He took his first bite. His eyes closed. It was the first real meal in days. The woman covered her face and cried. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just silent tears. David waited. He did not interrupt. After a moment, she looked up. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. David shook his head. "Don't," he replied. "Just eat." Outside, people talked. Some recorded videos. Some argued. But inside that bakery, time felt slow. David looked around the room. "This place forgot its purpose," he said quietly. "Food is meant to help people live." The woman nodded. "For a long time," she said, "I felt like the world wanted us to disappear." David looked at her. "Not today," he said. The woman believed him. Because today, she was seen. The bakery no longer felt like the same place. The air was warm, but the mood was heavy. People stood quietly. Some were sitting. Some were standing near the door. Everyone was watching. The woman held her cup with both hands. The soup was warm. It felt like life coming back into her body. Marcus ate slowly. He did not rush, as if he was afraid the food might disappear. David watched them from across the table. He did not smile. Not yet. Outside the bakery, voices grew louder. Someone had already posted a video. Phones were raised. Whispers turned into questions. Who was that man? Did he really own this place? Why did the manager get fired? Inside, a worker walked toward David. His hands were shaking. "Sir," the worker said softly, "what should we tell people?" David looked around the room. He stood up slowly. "I will speak," he said. The room went quiet again. David faced the customers. "I want everyone to listen," he said calmly. People leaned forward. "This bakery was meant to serve people," he continued, "not to judge them." A woman near the door lowered her phone. David looked at her. "If someone is hungry," he said, "they deserve food, not shame." The woman nodded. The man who had whispered earlier looked away. David turned back to the counter. "I failed," he said honestly. "I own this place, but I was not here." The workers looked surprised. "That ends today," David added. He turned toward the woman and Marcus. "This is not charity," he said. "This is respect." The woman felt her chest tighten. No one had spoken to her like that before. Suddenly, a man from the crowd spoke. "But rules are rules," he said. "If everyone gets free food." David raised his hand. "No," he replied. "Everyone does not get free food." The man frowned. "Only those who are hungry and have nothing," David continued. The room stayed silent. "That is not weakness," David said. "That is humanity." The man said nothing more. Outside, police lights flashed briefly. But they did not stop. They moved on. This was not trouble. This was truth. David turned back to the woman. "I need to ask you something," he said gently. She looked nervous. "Yes," she replied. "How long have you and your son been on the street?" he asked. She hesitated, then answered, "Almost 6 months." David nodded slowly. "And before that?" "I lost my job," she said. "My husband passed away." Her voice broke. "I tried," she added. "I tried everything." David listened. He did not interrupt. "I believe you," he said. The woman's eyes filled again. Marcus reached for David's hand. "Thank you for helping my mom," he said. David squeezed his hand gently. "You are welcome," he replied. David turned to the workers again. "From today," he said, "this bakery will do things differently." He pointed to a sign on the wall. "That sign will change." A worker nodded. "We will offer fresh food at closing time," David continued, "to families who need it." Gasps filled the room. "This will not be announced," he added. "No cámaras. No videos." The woman looked shocked. "Why not?" she asked. David looked at her. "Because dignity matters," he said. She nodded slowly. For the first time in months, she felt human again. A worker placed a small bag on the table. "For later," he said kindly. The woman smiled at him. "Thank you." David watched this. This was what he wanted. Not praise. Not attention. Change. He reached into his coat again. This time, he took out a business card. He placed it on the table. I want you to come see me tomorrow, he said. The woman froze. For what? She asked carefully. David leaned forward. For work, he said. Her breath caught. I don't have nice clothes, she said. And I don't have a place to stay. David nodded. We will fix that, he replied. Marcus's eyes went wide. You mean a house? He asked. David smiled. A start, he said. The woman looked down. Her hands are shaking again. But this time not from fear. From hope. David stood up. I have one more thing to do today, he said. He walked toward the door. The crowd moved aside. David turned back one last time. Finish your food, he said. No one will rush you. The woman watched him leave. The boy smiled as he ate. And the bakery was no longer a place of shame. It was a place where justice began. The sun was lower in the sky when they left the bakery. The woman held the food bag tightly. Marcus walked beside her. His steps were lighter now. For the first time in a long time, he was full. Across the street, David waited near his car. He opened the door for them. No rush, he said. Just a ride. The woman hesitated. Cars were something she did not trust. Promises were worse. But Marcus looked up at her. Mom, he said. He helped us. She nodded slowly. They got in. The car was warm and clean. Marcus touched the seat carefully. It's soft, he whispered. David smiled in the mirror. They drove through streets she had not seen in months. Lights. Homes. People eating dinner. Her chest felt tight again. David broke the silence. Tomorrow, he said, I want you to come to my office. The woman's heart jumped. I'm not educated, she said quickly, and I don't have papers with me. David nodded. I know, he said. That's not what I'm offering. She looked at him, confused. I'm offering you work you can do, David continued. Honest work. Safe work. Marcus leaned forward. Will my mom be tired? He asked. David smiled. Not like before, he said. The car stopped in front of a small building. Not big, not fancy, but clean. This is temporary housing, David said. Just for families. The woman's breath caught. For us? She asked. David nodded. Tonight. She stepped out of the car, slowly. The building had lights on. A small garden. A bench. It looked unreal. A woman from inside came out. She smiled warmly. Welcome, she said. The woman held Marcus's hand tighter. Her legs felt weak. Inside, there was a small room. 2 beds. A bathroom. A table. Marcus ran to the bed and jumped. It's ours, he laughed. The woman covered her mouth. Tears fell again. David stood by the door. I will leave now, he said gently. You need rest. She rushed to him. Wait, she said. Her voice shook. Why are you doing all this? She asked again. There are many people like us. David looked at the floor. Because someone once opened a door for me, he said. And I walked through it. He looked at Marcus. And because children remember who helped them, he added. He handed her a small envelope. Inside is the office address, he said. Come tomorrow. She nodded. After David left, the room felt quiet. Too quiet. The woman sat on the bed. Marcus lay beside her. Mom, he whispered. Are we safe now? She hugged him tightly. I think so, she replied. That night, she could not sleep. She watched Marcus breathe. She feared morning, because hope can break hearts. The next day came fast. She wore her cleanest clothes. They walked into the office building. Her hand shook. David was already there. He greeted Marcus first. Good morning, he said. Marcus smiled. David spoke calmly. I want you to work in one of my kitchens, he said. Not as a cleaner. Her heart skipped. As a helper, he continued. Then we train you. She froze. I don't know how to do much, she said. David nodded. You know how to survive, he replied. That's enough to start. He slid a paper toward her. A simple contract. Fair hours. Fair pay. She read it slowly. Her eyes blurred. This is real, she asked. Yes, David said. She signed. Her hand shook, but she signed. David smiled. Welcome, he said. Marcus clapped. Later, as they walked back outside, the woman stopped. She looked at the sky. She whispered, thank you. Not to David. To life. Because a door had opened. And this time, she was ready to walk through it. 3 years passed. Time moved quietly, but life changed loudly. The woman was no longer sleeping in shelters. She woke up every morning in a small, warm apartment. The walls were clean. The windows let sunlight in. On the table, there was food. Real food. Every day, she stood in front of the mirror. Her clothes were simple, but clean. Her eyes looked different now. They were no longer afraid. In the next room, Marcus tied his shoes. His school uniform was neat. His backpack was full of books. "Mom," he called. "I'm ready." She smiled. "I'm coming." She picked up her bag. Inside was her work badge. She worked at one of David's kitchens now. Not as a helper anymore. As a supervisor. She had learned fast. She had worked hard. People respected her. That still felt new. Outside, the city was busy. Cars passed. People walked. But she walked with confidence now. After work that day, she held Marcus's hand as they walked down the street. They passed many shops. Then Marcus stopped. "Mom," he said softly. She followed his eyes. A small boy stood near a bakery door. His jacket was thin. His face looked tired. The boy stared at the window, just like Marcus once did. The woman's chest tightened. She knew that look. She knelt beside Marcus. "What do you want to do?" she asked. Marcus did not answer right away. He walked toward the bakery. The woman followed. Inside, the bakery was warm. The smell of bread filled the air. The worker behind the counter smiled. "Hello," she said. Marcus stepped forward. "Can I get 2 pastries?" he asked. The worker nodded. "Of course." Marcus paid with the money his mother gave him. He walked back outside. He held out the bag to the boy. "For you," Marcus said. "They are fresh." The boy looked confused. "For me?" he asked. Marcus nodded. "Yes." The boy smiled. A big smile. The woman watched, tears in her eyes. She remembered another bakery. Another day. Another life. Behind them, a man stood quietly. David. Older now. Calmer. He had watched everything. He walked over slowly. "You did good," he said. Marcus looked up. "Mr. David," he said happily. David smiled at the woman. "You raised him well," he said. She shook her head. "You helped us," she replied. "You started this." David looked at the boy with the pastry. "No," he said softly. He did. They stood together for a moment. 3 lives connected by one choice. The woman thought about that day. The cold, the shame, the hunger, and the man who did not look away. She turned to David. "I never thanked you properly," she said. David shook his head. "You did," he replied. "By living." The boy with the pastry waved. "Thank you," he called. Marcus waved back. As they walked home, Marcus looked at his mother. "Mom," he said, "do you think I can help people when I grow up?" She smiled. "You already are," she said. That night, she stood by the window. The city lights shined. Life was not perfect, but it was real, and it was hers. Somewhere across the city, David sat in his office. He looked at an old photo on his desk. A little boy, a tired woman. He placed the photo down. He whispered, "Mom, we made it." The world outside was still hard. People were still hungry, still cold, but kindness was real, and it moved forward, one person at a time, one choice at a time, one act of courage. Because when someone chooses to see pain and chooses to act, lives change, and kindness always comes back.